Today, CARE Minnesota is calling out for action from Subway after an incident that occurred recently targeting this family, this Muslim family. Corporations like Subway have to take drastic steps to show that there is zero tolerance to the actions that the Subway employee clearly showed in the video of this incident. Unfortunately, this incident is part of a growing phenomenon of targeting minorities, and here as well here in Minnesota, particularly Muslims, by staff working for major corporations in customer service-oriented businesses. We've had incidents most recently last year in Red Lobster, this year in Red Lobster in Rochester, Minnesota, McDonald's here, and another incident that we still have not reported on, which occurred in Burger King inside a Walmart, and today a Subway incident that you will hear the full details. These bias incidents are increasing in frequency, and they show the type of profiling that is happening that leads to families and individuals being targeted and being treated differently than other individuals. No one, and I mean no one, should be treated the way that Ms. Ikran and her family was treated. Her children and herself have been traumatized by this incident. And now I would like to present Amir Malik, who is the Civil Rights Director, and we'll go through the basic details of what happened and also our demands today.
Hello, my name is Amir Malik. As Jaylani mentioned, I'm the Civil Rights Director. So last Tuesday, around 6 p.m., normal American activity. They went to Subway to have dinner. So she went with her children. They had been to that Subway before, and they had a very un-American experience while they were there. Unfortunately, this was not the first time, but it was just a much worse experience than before. They had been at this Subway with the same manager and asked, can you afford this sandwich? Are you sure you're able to pay for the sandwich? If you can't pay for the sandwich, you shouldn't be here. This is not something that most of us ever have to experience. And we strongly don't believe that if it was a white non-Muslim who was coming into the Subway, they don't check each person. Are you able to afford the sandwich? She's never had any problems paying for a sandwich. She works at a local school, and this type of profiling that happens is completely inappropriate. In this instance, they went to wash their hands before eating because they were going to eat in the Subway, and when they came out and they were starting their order, they faced this obscene tirade, if you've seen the videos, where they were shouted at. The children were brought to tears, and even now they hate to hear the sound of a siren because they think it is the police that's coming to get them, because he had told them he was calling the police. And I just think it's really unfortunate that things we take for granted, let's stop by a Subway, which is their favorite restaurant. Let's stop by a Subway and get a sandwich. Can be such a different experience because of the color of their skin and the faith that they practice. So now, Ikram.
Hello, my name is Ikran Salat. I am a school counselor at a local school here, and just like we have done about maybe once or twice a week, we go to Subway to get dinner before I go pick up my other kids. And what we had experienced last week was the most traumatizing event I had ever went through. It was so horrifying to see the things that he was saying, how he was putting my kids down, and I felt like he was genuinely trying to instill fear in my kids. Not just fear that they had to for who they were, but he kept traumatizing them by saying he was going to call the police on them, that they were going to be arrested, that their mom was going to prison. And he kept saying these things over and over deliberately. No, I'm not going to jail. And every day they ask me the same question: am I going to jail? Is mommy going to prison? What's gonna happen to me? And I'm so disappointed and I'm so hurt that the trauma he has caused my kids. And I had expected better from a subway manager, but this was just a terrorizing experience to see how much my kids were crying. And after I told him, you're saying this to me in front of my kids, why are you doing this? He kept saying all the bad things about my kids and calling them names. But even though I wanted to leave and I just wanted to run away and protect them and get them out of there, I decided to stay and pull my phone out and record because I was so scared. No one was going to believe that this happened, and no one was going to believe that a manager did this to us. And after I started recording, I was scared that when he called the police wasn't going to believe us. I was scared of what was going to happen if we left and took off and go home. But what I didn't want my kids to see is that someone threatens you, I'm going to call the police, and you run away. I didn't want to teach them that you have to fear the police. I did not want to teach my kids I didn't want to teach my kids that the threat of people, they should take that and just digest it. But we're still recovering. I am a school counselor. I'm trying my best to counsel my kids at this event. This is going to take a lifelong working with my kids. It's going to take a really long time for us to recover as a family, but we're taking one day at a time. And overall, we're very disappointed.
Thank you.
How many interactions have you had with that particular employee?
About 3 times.
And in the video, he says something like, he says you were rude before. What was he referring to for that?
I'm not sure.
So what happened before the tape is basically?
What happened was that we came into the store. I took my kids to the bathroom. They were going to wash their hands, and then we were going to sit down and eat. As soon as we went to the bathroom and we came out, my kids were grabbing chips. I was telling them, put the chips down. And then he just looked at us and he said, the bathroom is for the customers. Well, we are a customer. No, you're not a customer. And then he started going off with, get the F out and all these things. And then he said, I'm going to call the police. And then that's when I got scared because I was like, what is happening? I didn't know what he was talking about. I couldn't understand. I couldn't process why we were being kicked out. So I thought I need to record something because I'm scared if the police comes, what's going to happen to us? I was really scared.
And what has he said to you past times that you've been there?
He made jokes about if I could afford the food or why am I asking. I have small kids, as you can see. So when I go there, I ask him to cut it in halves and stuff. And he always, oh, you can't afford it. Why are you cutting it in this? So he's made some very disrespectful comments, and I just felt like he was being biased and he was being racist. But I had given him the benefit of the doubt because we love the restaurant.
And did he say those same things on this last time, or was it just?
No.
And so it was the stuff about you're not a customer?
That's how he started off with.
Because of going to the bathroom, and he said bathrooms are just for customers?
Right.
If I can add, so today we are demanding for this employee to be fired by Subway. We're also demanding for training. We're also demanding for compensation for this family. And we want this not to be occurring again. No customer of any faith or any background should be treated the way this family is treated. And I'm glad Ikran was able to record this incident, and it's very clear the way that this individual was treating this customer was above and beyond unacceptable practice by any means. The language we used, the amount of threatening nature of even the language that was being used is horrible. And therefore, unfortunately, we think not only Starbucks needs to do these trainings, all of these companies need to do it. We've talked about McDonald's, we've talked about Burger King, and unfortunately now with this incident here in Subway. So with that, any other final questions about this incident?
Well, was there anything said that could be interpreted a different way? You know, like.
I believe this looks like a pattern of someone who has been harassing this family, and unfortunately in this incident, it escalated to the point where he had started to make those tirades against them.
I appreciate that, but it just kind of goes from 0 to 100 here on the video, and it seems to me that there's some other precedent. There's something going on here that we're not seeing on the video. these other 2 times that you were there, you know, did you use the bathroom and leave without buying a sandwich? I mean,
Never.
it doesn't seem realistic that he goes on like this completely without precedent.
On this case, I can mention, for the incident that happened before, Ikran actually sent me the receipt, a dated receipt showing that they had bought sandwiches. And that's why I said, I think it is hard for many people to understand this because you don't go through that experience. You're not black. And I think that does make for most of us, we just go to a Subway and we order and we're fine. And it's nobody asks us, hey, can you afford this? And are you sure if you can't afford it, you shouldn't be here? And we don't have that experience. So, but in her case, for the other day it happened, she sent me a dated receipt showing that they had ordered their food and everything. So
he alludes to something like you're rude, or it seems like he's alluding to something. So we're just wondering what that is, whether it can be interpreted multiple ways or whatever, so that we don't walk out of here and then find out about some other thing that wasn't mentioned.
No, I think there's no behavior or anything or any incident that we are aware of that we believe would escalate the situation from Ikram's perspective. We think that because Ikram stood her ground and started to speak to him in a matter of requesting, and then when you started to record, that's clearly when we see him starting to also escalate and started to act like there was something else that happened. His earlier comment about them not affording to pay, it's itself reprehensible and should have been treated with initially. So we think the camera and recording it may have escalated him in making. So I think those were impactfully important in the process of exactly what took place.
In the past, whenever he made comments,
Yep.
in the past, whenever he made comments, I was in a rush. I was always on a rush to go get my kids, so I really never had a chance to even respond or anything, say back or nothing. So I would just get my sandwich and I would just be in a hurry to leave. But this time was different because I had the kids with me. We had time to sit down and eat. We were going to spend some time there and just eat our food and just hang out. So, and when he just started saying, get out and this, I told him that he was being rude. And then I think that's when he started saying, well, you're being rude. I told you to get out. You're not leaving. It's for customers. And I kept telling him, well, I have been a Subway customer for almost close to 20 years. 20 years I have been going to this restaurant. So I kept saying to him, I am a customer. No, you're not. Get out, get out. So the fact that he kept saying get out and he was so used to me just whatever he says, just accepting it and just taking it and leaving it, it was hard for him this time that I was saying that he was being rude. And I think that's why it was hard for him to accept that she's actually talking back. She's actually saying something to me.
Despite all of that, I think also it's important to recognize that just the nature of the language was being used, regardless of how horrible customers could be, that's just not acceptable. The specific language, the threats that somehow he's a felon and that makes him more dangerous in being careful about that or interpreted in that way, among other things. So I think the video itself shows enough evidence that the conduct of this particular employee was really unfortunate. And again, as I said, this is not an isolated incident. We are seeing these incidents happen more frequently. We're seeing also the emboldenedness of anti-Muslim bias being played in multiple facets. And this type of nature of trying to disrespect individuals or to try to push some sort of intimidating factors, we're seeing that happen more often. And so unfortunately, this is something that's happening.